Hello, welcome back to my channel, Current Chapter. My name is Dani, and today I'm gonna talk about all the thrillers I read last year, ranking them from worst to best. So let's talk about books. I already have a video talking about the best sci-fi and fantasy that I read in 2019. I'm gonna link that in the cards and down the description, so check that out if you're interested in that. But I didn't talk about the thrillers yet, and I don't have enough all-time favorite thrillers to make a list of just my favorites, so I'm gonna talk about all of them and rank them from worst to best and why I liked or disliked. Last year I read 10 adult mystery thrillers, so let's start with the worst. The worst thriller that I read last year was Unwanted by Christina Olsen. This book is about a woman she's on a train with her daughter. She gets out of the train in one of the stops, and when she gets back, her daughter's not there anymore. Sometime later, the girl appears dead, and it says Unwanted on her forehead. The main reason why I disliked this book so much was that this synopsis, this part of the book that I told you, it takes you so long to happen in the book that the whole time I already knew that the girl was gonna show up dead. I already knew that she was gonna disappear, and I already knew that she was gonna have unwanted in her forehead because everything is here in this description, and it just took way too long. By then, I wasn't I didn't care anymore. We get a lot about the lives of the detectives, what they're doing, how they got to where they are right now, and I get this is a type of detective story that you get more of the detective than the actual crime, but that's not how I felt it was going to be when I got into this book. And I just thought there was not a lot about the crime itself, and the ending was just too easy. Like, it was so underwhelming, and I really didn't like it. Coming in number 9, we have A Simple Favor by Darcy Bell. I listened to the audiobook for this, and I picked this book because it's a movie and I wanted to watch the movie after and compare, and I thought if they made a movie, it must be really good, and that wasn't the case. The story of the book was very underwhelming to me. It's about a woman who leaves her child with a friend for one night or just the evening, and then she never comes back to pick the kid up again. So the woman who has the child starts to dig up and try to find out what happened. She's very worried about her friend, and she starts to uncover all these lies and secrets. And it was very underwhelming to me. There was not a lot of surprising twists. It was very expected. Even the main character itself was expecting a lot of things that could have happened to her friend. So really didn't like this book. Number 8, we have An Anonymous Girl by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. This was the only book by them that I've read, and I still want to read The Wife Between Us and the new one that's coming out this year. But this specific book was again very disappointing to me. I was expecting so much because they are very big names in thrillers right now. They're coming out with a bunch of books, and this one was again not very thrillery, not very surprising, not a lot of plot twists. The premise of the book is that a woman goes to university to take a moral quiz. Like, she wants to participate in a study that will ask her moral questions. And then it starts to get very personal, but she still wants to see what's going to happen. She needs the money. And that's how it goes. But this happens right in the beginning of the book, and then there's nothing about it really. I don't know. I think it was very expected again. From this beginning of the book, it just turns into something that's very boring and so predictable that I was just left very underwhelmed by the end. In 7th place, and this is the first book that I actually have something that I enjoyed in it, it is I'll Never Tell by Catherine Mackenzie. This book tells a story about a family who owns a camp, and the parents die. All the children go to camp to get their inheritance. They're all adults now. And back when they were teenagers, there was a crime that happened in the camp, and they have to figure out what happened, basically, so they can get the inheritance. I really like the premise. I love the dialogue a lot. It really was engaging and kept me guessing what was going to happen in the book. The atmosphere of the book is really interesting. The main issue that I had with this is that because it kept me guessing so much, I actually guessed the plot twist, so it wasn't exciting anymore when that happened. I still wanted to see how they were going to solve all of that. Again, a lot of secrets and lies and things being uncovered. And I really enjoyed that part, but the ending was a bit too easy for me, maybe because I guessed it too soon. And then I was just left feeling a bit underwhelmed. But it is great writing, and I really, really recommend this book if you want this type of atmospheric camping book. It's very interesting, and it was one that I enjoyed if I hadn't guessed the plot twist so soon. Number six is Then She Was Gone by Lisa Joel. This book, I actually enjoyed this story a lot. I just thought it was gonna be something else. I don't think this was a thriller at all. It was maybe just a mystery. It wasn't that surprising. Again, not a lot of. There's a tiny plot twist in the middle of the book, but then we don't have anything else. Just not a lot happens here. And I was really waiting until the end of the book to see what was the big thing all about. So I was really waiting until the end of the book to know what this was really all about, and there was nothing. I was still expecting a plot twist in the end, but there wasn't one. So for me, again, this is a little bit underwhelming, but it's actually a great story. If you go into it knowing that it's not going to be like a psychological thriller with a bunch of plot twists, if you just like see the story for what it is, I guess it was very, very good. So I do recommend it. It's just not exactly what I was expecting. In fifth place, we have The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. I was actually surprised when I ranked the books in the rating that I usually give them in my spreadsheet, and this was number 5 because I really didn't like this book a lot. But when I was thinking more about it, I remembered why it had this rating. It wasn't a lower rating than it is. And it's because the mystery in here is actually really, really engaging. The story about this book is that a journalist is hired to go in this cruise ship to do a story about the ship. And she sees a woman being thrown on the water when she's in her room. But when she tells people about it, there's actually no one missing from the boat. It's like, what happened? What was it? Is she crazy? What's going on? It's a very interesting mystery, and it does remind me a lot of Agatha Christie in the way that it's a closed mystery. They're in the ship, so it has to be something inside the ship. Like I said, I didn't absolutely love this book because, first of all, this main character, for me, she's not believable as a normal human person. She's just weird. She acts so weird, and I just didn't believe her so much and what the things that she was doing and the decisions she was making. And the second thing about this book that I didn't like so much was that it was resolved too fast, and we still had a lot going on in the story, a lot of pages for nothing. And I guess that's something that I don't like in a thriller. I like the last chapter, the last pages are the twist, and then we kind of like we figure out it, like everything's gonna be fine, or if everyone's dead, or like we know what's gonna happen from there. But this book, no, we figured it out, and then we still had a bunch of pages that stuff was happening. There were still thrilling things happening, but it wasn't about the first plot of the book anymore, so I didn't care. So that was my main issue with this book, and that's why I remember it as something that when I finished, I didn't like it, because this whole ending part I really didn't like. But the mystery is very, very engaging, and it did keep me guessing, and I didn't guess it. At least not all of it. I do recommend. It's not my favorite Rough Wire that I read so far. The favorite, it's on top of the list, but still, it's good. It's okay. Number 4 of the list is a book that I read in the beginning of last year, and it is Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pembroke. I know that this book is very polarizing, that people either love it or hate it, and I get it. It has unrealistic things in it, and I do understand that, like, as soon as you put something that's not real in the book or not realistic enough in the book, it's kind of easy to get out of that because you're already making a point that not everything is going to be real. However, the way that this book is constructed around this thing that I can't say what it is, the story of this book, the part that I can tell you, is that it's about a woman who just moved somewhere else, or she just got a new job. And the day before she starts on her new job, she meets a guy on the bar, and they get together. And then on the next day, she finds out that he's her boss, and he's married. So it goes from there, but it's really not only this. She becomes friends with his wife. and there's this whole thing happening. But still, there's one plot point of this book that I don't want to tell you. It's something that when I read it, I was so skeptical, like, oh, okay, fine, then she can do whatever she wants if we're going in this route. But she actually didn't. It's a closed world where not everything is possible. It's just one thing that she's implementing there in the story. And this is a type of book that the last page of the book has a plot twist. And those are my favorite types of thrillers. It's very thrilling throughout the end. Like, it's engaging, the story is engaging, and there are a few plot twists in the middle, but the last page of the book is still something that changes everything. And if you have more books like that to recommend to me, I would love them because I really, really enjoyed this book. And I really recommend that you give it a try because it's so different from everything else. Third book on this list is The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. This was a very hyped and very popular book last year. It's a story about a woman who stabbed her husband to death, and then she wouldn't talk anymore. She wouldn't speak anything about what happened or anything at all. She's taken to the psychiatric hospital because she stabbed her husband to death and she won't talk. And we have the story of the doctor who's treating her and trying to get her to talk. This book, I have to say, it's very predictable. But the reason why I loved it so much is that I didn't predict it. In the end, when we get the final plot twist and everything is resolved, I was so surprised and so mad at myself because I didn't see it coming that I just love the book. I don't have a lot to say about the way it's structured or about like everything that's going on, and I don't want to say that this will be a surprising book for everyone. Like, behind her eyes, I will tell you that you are not expecting what's going to happen. For this one, you actually might expect it, and then you might not like this book so much as like I did. But for me, it was one of my favorite of last year because I didn't see it coming. That's all I have to say. The second book on this list is The Couple Next Door by Sherry Lapina. This book surprised me a lot because the thing that I mentioned in Unwanted, that I hated how the synopsis of the book takes like, I don't know, 100 pages to happen. In this book, the synopsis takes like 2 pages. The idea of the book is that there's a couple who goes next door to have dinner with the couple next door, and they leave their baby at home. It's like they're next door neighbors, and they leave the baby at home with the baby monitor. And when they come back, the baby's not there anymore. And this literally happens in the first 2 pages. So from there, I had no idea what to expect. And there was a chance for this book to be boring because everything already happened, so you just have to figure that out now. But this surprised me because there's a lot still that is uncovered here. There's one cliffhanger in the end of almost every chapter, and you really don't know what's gonna happen next. Like, oh my god, okay, so if this is happening, so now what? Like, that's how I felt throughout most of this book. So I really do recommend it. This is one of the thrillingest thriller that I read last year, just because the whole book, we had something happen. We had a new twist or just a new thrilling thing happening. So I really enjoyed it. And the number one best thriller that I read last year was The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ward. This book was a combination of great writing style, of great plot twists, a great synopsis, of a great setting, the atmosphere, the characters. The whole book was just perfect for me, for what I wanted in a thriller. This is a story about a woman who's hired to babysit the children of a couple of architects. And one of my favorite things about this book is that it takes place in a mansion in the top of a mountain or something. Something that like you usually imagine an old house that creaks or something like that. But they're architects, so they like test all the new technologies that's going on. So the whole house is wired, there's screens everywhere, and everything is locked by a code or something like that. So that's very unexpected for me, and I think that was a very good different setting for this type of book. And we have children, which always makes the stories a little bit creepier. We have secrets going on everywhere. All the characters have some sort of secret. Even the house has a past and history of some of things that happened there. And this book was just very, very well crafted for me. It was a 5 star, and I didn't expect any of the twists that happened. It's not like A Couple Next Door where something new is happening every chapter. There are some slower moments, but I think it was good to get that atmospheric, creepy vibe for the book and just to get to know the characters a little bit more. And it wasn't boring for me. Like even the slower parts, I was still very engaged and I was still loving it so much. So I really recommend it. Between the two Fires that I read last year, this is clearly my favorite. So from her other books, let me know what you would recommend to me, because I'm very interested. And again, knowing what kinds of thrillers that I like, what my taste in those books is, if you have any to recommend to me, please let me know. Please leave in the comments, because I'm always looking for more cool, creepy, and awesome and plot twisty thrillers to add to my TBR. Remember to subscribe to my channel. I have a very special Valentine's Day video coming out in the end of the week, and I'm very excited for it. And remember to like this one as well, and to follow me on Instagram, Goodreads, and Twitter. All the links are down in the description. And thank you so much for joining me. Bye!